go ahead and get started. And like I said, this in the chat, this meeting's being recorded. So if you missed something or have to join late, no worries. It'll be recorded for folks to view and share afterwards. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be able to talk about this topic. Very excited to share with other families our experience in helping treat Maggie, who has PMM2-CDG. These collaboration calls really got started with Misik Zedelin, who runs Amor Fund. His son also has PMM2-CDG. He couldn't be here today, but sends his best regards and has been working to try to line up some speakers for, the goal of being once a month. We're bringing researchers or physicians or just families who are working towards a treatment or cure of CDG to discuss and share and collaborate. So I'm going to talk to you today about Maggie's Cure, which is an organization that we created to develop and find treatments and cures for our daughter, Maggie. So today, the topics I'll give you a basic overview of the drug development path and the research that kind of led to the Epalrestat trial that Maggie's currently on, what results we've seen so far in Maggie, an expanded Epalrestat trial potential, some details about that, and some other drugs that are in development for PMM2-CDG. So quick disclaimer and disclosure for all of you. I'm a mom of Maggie. She's 7 years old. She has PMM2-CDG. I co-founded Maggie's Cure, but I'm not a physician, a scientist, a researcher, or any kind of big pharma exec. So don't take anything in this presentation as medical advice. I'm really trying to just portray my understanding and share our experience. I've really tried to make sure to take every effort to have this material vetted by professionals so that I'm not giving any misleading information, but just know that I am not necessarily a professional expert. I'm not credentialed anyways. I did, as a founder of Maggie's Cure, we funded the research that led to this discovery of Epalrestat and other certain aldose reductase inhibitors that could be a potential treatment for PMM2-CDG. So Maggie's Cure does jointly own the intellectual property of this discovery. So just want to be open and upfront about where we stand with things. I also want to give a few thank yous. There, they say it takes a village to raise a kid. It probably takes more than a village to get a treatment for a rare disease. But there are some key people who were just invaluable in the process. Certainly Ethan and everyone at the Perlara team, some of them who are here today. So very excited to see you guys on the call. Hello. Mayo Clinic has been phenomenal, especially Dr. Eva Morava, but of course countless others, that I've listed here. Anna Legetska is at every blood draw that Maggie does, and it's just so kind. Our family, I would be remiss if I didn't thank them. They helped fund and found Maggie's Cure that led to this research. There are also countless others. Hitoshi especially helped us get the drug imported from Japan. And many of you that are on the call today in the CDG community who have been, cheering us on and so encouraging. And it really means a lot. So thank you. Drug development. Okay, so this is a brief overview, and I gave you the website at the bottom of where I found this image from, but I thought it was a good image that kind of gave you an idea of what the process looks like. So in the beginning, our Pearl Quest was kind of this purplish colors, this pinkish purplish, and this basic research of creating model organisms and doing high throughput screening led to this discovery. And right now, you can see the You Are Here. We're kind of almost finished with our phase 1 trial with Maggie, and hopefully the next trial will be able to be in a phase 2 or phase 3 spot so that we can then if the treatment shows to be safe and effective, could go through this step 3 of an NDA application or new drug application that would then make it available to any child in the US with PMM2 to be able to have that treatment prescribed and used, and hopefully to see the same benefits that we've seen in Maggie. So our Maggie's Cure Pearl Quest that we conducted in order to kind of lead to this, all of the research that was done is available in an open access publication. So the link is on here, and I will also share slides along with the recording so that folks can easily access those links and find the resources that I've included in the slides today. But essentially, what was done is there were simple model organisms created. So strangely enough, we as humans share many genes with simple model organisms, even ones as simple as yeast, worms, and fruit flies. And those type of models, I'm trying to give some of the scientific language too, because I know as a parent, you kind of have to translate a little bit and learn these things. I think it would be great if I took some more biology and chemistry classes at this point. But in vivo is meaning that it's the whole organism. So like yeast and worms and fruit flies are a whole organism, whereas you see down here patient fibroblasts are in vitro because it's just, you know, it's a piece of the organism, is again my layman's understanding of this. But with those model organisms, so we created them using CRISPR to edit the genes and insert specific mutations. So many of you parents and scientists and physicians who might be here today know that PMM2, there are many types of mutations on the PMM2 gene that cause this PMM2-CDG. And so what Perlara was able to do is create model organisms with different types of mutations. So one of the ones that they did was one of the most common mutations, R141H, F119L, E139K is Maggie's mutation. And so that was another model organism that was created. And then once they have these sick model organisms, these model organisms that also have CDG, they develop what are called assays, which is just really I think a fancy word for explaining how something that you can measure. So growth, for example, was an assay used in the yeast model. The sick yeast, the yeast that had PMM2-CDG didn't grow as well. So an assay, this growth assay, was able to, when you do high throughput screening, which is meaning trying all these different drugs and compounds from around the world to see if anything improves the growth of the yeast. And so Epalrestat and some other aldose reductase inhibitors were some hits. And then the process goes that you do hit validation. So if a treatment or a drug or a compound works well in yeast, does it also work in worms? Does it also work in patient fibroblasts? Because that's more of an indicator that it could be a potential effective treatment. And if the drug or compound that's tested already exists, as in the case of Epalrestat, then that's called drug repurposing versus creating a brand new drug. It's using a drug that exists for a different condition and finding that it also works for the condition you're looking at, in this case, PMM2-CDG. So fibroblasts we were able to actually test it in Maggie's fibroblasts. And I'll show you the results of that in the next slide, but I did include this, and again, you'll have the link. You can hear Ethan's talk at the 2020 CDG conference about the science and research and get into more of the details rather than that one slide layman's overview of this entire, years of work and effort reduced to one slide, but a lot of great things in there. So here, as I mentioned, is the fibroblast slide. So Maggie's the blue line, and in her fibroblasts, it actually increased the PMM2 enzyme activity over 4 times, a 4.06-fold increase. So that was really encouraging and positive. And one of the main reasons we wanted to move forward and try this compassionate use IND, which stands for Investigational New Drug Trial. And you can see some other fibroblasts were also tested, and you can see that sometimes the results vary. So sometimes it went up a little, sometimes it went up a lot. And that's probably due to a number of things. One, you can see that the mutations are different for these patients. They all share a common R141H mutation, but they have different secondary mutations. Or it could also be that the other genes that we have in our body are different. So Maggie, got, of course, genes from both Dan and I, and they would be different than the genes that the other kids got. But so Epalrestat, a little bit about this drug is it's a Japanese drug developed by Ono Pharmaceuticals in 1992. It's actually the first aldose reductase inhibitor in the world that was approved. And it's, as you can see, an older drug being approved in 92. And the good thing about that is that there's been lots and lots and lots and lots of patients who have taken it before, although not PMM2-CDG patients, but you can get a long record of how safe the drug may be. And it's been shown to be very safe, although it's used in adults with diabetic peripheral neuropathy. It was reassuring for me as a parent to know that this drug isn't an unknown. It's a known quantity, so to speak. So you might notice you see peripheral neuropathy. Many of you might, who know a PMM2 patient or have a PMM2 patient, might recognize that peripheral neuropathy, it can be a symptom of PMM2-CDG. So it is. It's when the nerves in your extremities are damaged and can cause some numbness, pain, lack of sensation, and weakness. So Maggie currently has peripheral neuropathy at a moderate level. This is tested through what's called an EMG and typically done under partial sedation. And so hopefully we haven't retested her peripheral neuropathy since she started the drug. It's been about a little over 8 months now, but we will test it at 12 months on the drug. So I'm curious to see what happens. Okay. Let's see, next slide here. Sorry about that chat box, guys. I just realized that was covering up for you. So we got to the point where we were able to get this study may proceed letter, which was a really exciting day and moment for us to do this single patient compassionate use trial. Dr. Ava Morava, her bedside manner, as you can see, is pretty good. She just, her care and compassion for her patients is really pretty amazing. And what we were looking at for this initial single patient compassionate use trial is safety. So trials can look at, when you look at that drug development timeline that I showed you, typically phase 1 trials are looking at safety. Phase 2 and 3 start to get into efficacy, meaning is the drug doing its intended purpose? Is it working? Is it producing the desired outcome? Now we're lucky that obviously we can still look at some efficacy measures with Maggie, but the goal of the trial was focused on safety, and she hasn't had any side effects that we can tell. She takes currently a 5 milligram dose 3 times a day. It is an oral pill, and it was a little bit hard to, at very beginning to get her to take a pill. Probably I would say about the first 3 or 4 days. So we kind of had to force her to do it. But once she figured it out, she now takes it on her own and, picks up her pill, takes a drink, and she's better at me than taking pills now. Our trial included many visits, especially because it was, looking at safety, and this was, and Epalrestat hadn't been used for pediatric patients. So the study outlined visits at day 0, 1, 30, 60, 90, 6 month, 9 month, and 1 year. So later this month, at the end of October, we'll be going out to Mayo Clinic for our 9-month visit check-in. So what we've seen, what I'm really, really, really excited to talk to you about, and probably what many of you are here to hear about, is the updates and improvements that we've seen in Maggie. So as I mentioned, safety aside, we haven't noticed any safety factors, including in her liver. So there was, you know, a few instances of liver impact with Epalrestat, but we have not noticed any with Maggie, and that was a very small number, especially compared to the number of individuals who have taken Epalrestat. But what we have seen are some improvements in speech, gross motor, fine motor, and cognitive abilities. So her cognitive abilities, she's just seemed to do so much better on different things, and even some more formalized testing like the Vinland done by a developmental psychologist found that she increased her percentage points doubly in like her communication and in her understanding, her receptive and expressive communication. And also through the schools, they do this testing, standardized testing every year. And so last year when she did it in kindergarten, she was really low in like the 3rd percentile for kids. And she just recently took it again and was at between the 50th and 60th percentile. So we've really just seen a blossom in her ability to understand concepts, express concepts that she understands, and focus better. And all of the updates, I've been posting updates on, you know, social media sites, but I just recently moved them all, or copied them all rather, to maggiescure.com. So if you're ever curious and want to go back, then you can see all of them in one spot. So for her speech specifically, one of the major things is there's just been this huge increase in the volume of words that she says. So, you know, an example of that I've shared is she was playing hide and seek with her brother, and she found him, and so he said, "Your turn." And normally, you know, before treatment, Maggie was primarily just mimicking or parroting back phrases or saying routine phrases that she knew or used frequently. So normally she would have just repeated back, "Your turn," but instead she flipped it. She said, "My turn, you go hide and I will go find you." I mean, it's just the volume of words, it was shocking at first. Of course, now we're a little bit used to it because we've been at this for almost 9 months now. But school personnel, although school closed down probably about, let's see, it would have been 45 days into the trial, and I purposely didn't tell them Maggie was taking the trial. I really wanted to just hear their feedback. And spontaneously, they came to me when I was picking her up after school and said, "What is going on with her? She is just talking so much." And they gave the example of that day they were working on some simple sentences. And Maggie would have to pick an image to finish the sentence. So they would have like, "We go to," and she would pick a picture of the zoo or the park or home, and she would have to say the sentence. And so instead of just saying like, "We go to the zoo," she said, "We go to the zoo because I like to see the animals." Like she just is spontaneously adding and communicating more. She also has this improved clarity of words and intelligibility of speech. I think that strangers are more easily able to understand her. While her speech isn't 100% perfect by all means, it's a great improvement over where she was before. She has a lot faster processing speed, so she's able to kind of keep up with the cadence and rhythm of conversation, and just this greater complexity of thought. I don't know how else to describe it, and I highlighted this example that just cracked me up. that, Dan and I were playing this video game, and she asked what we were doing, and I told her, we're playing a game. She asked, can I play? I tell her, no, you're not old enough. And she says, I am 6 years old. You have to be 5 years old to play. That just the cleverness to know to give this arbitrary age that's less than her own just really blew me away. I mean, and she continues to just amaze us with the phrases that she'll say, and just have more discussion around relevant topics. We were ordering a basketball hoop for her brother and her to play with in the driveway, and she kept asking, every day, is the basketball hoop going to get here today? Just I can't emphasize enough the speech, because it's one of to me the most treasured improvements that I can have a conversation with Maggie. And before, it was just really like these, it was, I know parents will probably know this, but like it's like you're doing speech therapy, or you're just doing these basic things where she'll say, I want water, like that was really the gist of conversing, and it was really difficult. And now I can talk with her, and she's funny, she's hilarious. The things, her thoughts, she can share about what she's thinking and feeling, and it's just, I can't put a dollar amount on it. She's inquisitive. She's I mean, it's one of my favorite things. I mean, although she's improved in a lot of things, the speech is pretty phenomenal to me. Her gross motor, we've also seen better balance and body control. She's trying new things. Like she will, she was cruising furniture before, but she's much steadier now. And now she'll do this move where she'll lift one leg in the air. She really wants to be a ballerina, so she calls these moves ballerina moves. And she has a new one that I'll show you a video of later on. But she also has just this increased muscle volume and is stronger. And you'll see, I'll show you her weight chart. She has increased in her weight pretty significantly. So I think that the muscle volume is real, especially in her quads, in her calves. She doesn't have like these chickeny legs. Her legs are filling out. Her orthotics are tighter. She has this just more energy and greater stamina as she goes throughout her day. And she did lose some teeth, but I don't think that was a side effect. I think that was just her age. Bike riding is another great example, I think, of the gross motor improvement. So you can see the image on the left is her old bike, and you can see that she kind of would sit hunched over. She couldn't pedal it herself. It had a push handle in the back that we would push and steer for her. But now she's been able to upgrade to this bike. It provides less support and control. She sits up better. She can pedal and make it go on her own. And so I'll show you this video of her. And you'll see this in this video, she actually is unbuckled. So this is something physical therapists that we're doing virtually via teletherapy are having us try, because she's able to sit up on her own and not need the support. Now, if we're going on a bike ride and we're not standing really close, I still buckle it out of caution, but she doesn't actually need it. Okay. All right, my video link is saying it's not protected. Just a second, guys. Okay, so this is her riding her bike now. You can see she's just not buckled at all. Okay, I think you get the idea. I won't make you watch this whole video here. Because I have some more gross motor progress videos to show you. One amazing one is her using her gait trainer or walker and the improvement over time. So this video will show you a compilation of kind of where she was before, and then at a couple of updates you can see she's able to control it more. She's able to steer better. Why does it not want me to open these? Let me see. But we can now use, the amazing thing to me is we can now use her walker to go on our Mayo trips. We don't need to bring her wheelchair. She can manage it enough, and she can handle it to not have to use a wheelchair. Okay, so this is in August 2019 before the drug. So you'll see that she runs into walls.
Watch where you're going.
She's really using the saddle seat support quite a bit.
You can do it. You got to come down and turn around and then walk back to the door.
And how long it takes her just to kind of get down this short hallway. And here's in April. So we started the drug. This is probably 4 months on Epalrestat. And this was the first visit we tried the walker at Mayo. And you can see she can get on the elevator. And then here is our July trip. And she can pretty much run in this thing now.
Come on. Watch where you're going.
She still likes to watch her feet a little bit. But on this most recent trip, I'll add to this compilation video to show where she's able to steer around a lot of the furniture in the waiting room of floor 16. If you've been there where the blood draws happen, there's quite a bit of waiting room furniture there.
Keep your head up. Stand up tall, keep your head up.
Okay, and this next one I'm going to show you is something she did for the first time ever. I've never seen her do this on Tuesday this week, and I just grabbed my phone and took a quick video. She's calling this another ballerina move, but she's, you'll see in the video, she's on her, hands and knees, because 4-point crawling is still her primary mode to just get around the house. But she's like going up on her knees. to like stand with her hands above her head. It's probably easier just to see than describe it here. But
look at you.
Maggie, that's not quite like a frog. I'm not sure.
Yeah, are you doing a ballerina move? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay, go up like a ballerina. Let me see. That is hard work. Good job.
so she's not able to hold it very long, but I'm sure she'll get better at that because she's pretty determined. Okay, and then I wanted to show you a couple of videos.
Okay, what's up, guys? Holly Cameron's here. I'm here. And
okay, so this is one that Ethan actually helped make for me.
Gee,
This is her sitting in kindergarten, getting practice for kindergarten. You can see she's kind of wobbly. She's not really able to sit extremely still. She's moving her legs a lot. Just not extremely stable.
S. Yes, what sound does S make?
Say hi, everyone.
And then this is getting ready for
Maggie is learning
first grade.
to read.
And you can see she's in pretty much a similar sitting position, a similar amount of, support as far as the furniture, but she's just much more stable. She's not moving around. She's able to kind of control her trunk. And yes, so that's what I wanted to show you on that one. And then the last one I wanted to show you on sitting is, let me get it open here. This is a recent one that we did, and actually during her appointment with Dr. Morava, she had her do this same thing on the edge of the exam table.
Okay, Meg.
And I was just shocked that she could do it. And so when we got home, I had her do it on video because it was pretty amazing. So this is the ottoman. This is, she sits on this a lot, but normally we would not have her sit here without one of us being next to her. And normally she's got her hands down for support. And so you'll watch, you can see how she's able to just maintain her balance.
Put one arm and touch your nose. And put the arm straight out again, like a bird. Other hand, touch your nose. Hand straight out like a bird. Good job.
Okay. Fine motor is the other improvements we've seen. Her pincer grip is much more controlled. There's a very stark difference in her coloring. There's a couple of slides to show the difference in her coloring coming up here. She's writing more smoothly and doesn't require a model to write her name. And so I'll show you a writing sample too. And she's drawing recognizable things, which is a really awesome thing as a parent to see your kid draw. Before it was just scribbles. This is a picture she drew for me of Dan. She drew this in my birthday card actually. But it's recognizable, even if it's just a face. It's still it's just great to see that. So here you'll see her coloring. This was the first coloring page that just really stopped me in my tracks. I just was walking by the table and she was coloring it with one of her caretakers, and I just was shocked at how good her coloring is. So you can see before this scribbling was primarily what we did for coloring, and now she can color in the lines. So here's just another example of her. She's just more focused and able to do that now. Here's a writing sample you can see. So before she really kind of needed a model, you can see how shaky and kind of squiggly the lines are. So you can now see the letters are much better formed. There's a smoother line in creating them. And again, she's not, it's not perfect, but it's pretty amazing to see and watch in such a short time. lab results. So despite all of that kind of real world evidence that we as parents see that's a little bit difficult to measure, there's also been some encouraging results in the lab and in the clinic. One of the exciting things is that a new biomarker was discovered, and this biomarker is elevated in 70% of PMM2-CDG patients. This biomarker was normalized during the trial and has maintained that normalization. The Nijmegen Pediatric CDG rating scale improved by a point. Just in this, in this short time, her ICARS improvement is probably the most impressive for me to see, and that's a measurement that's looking at ataxia, and it's kind of looking at upper body, lower body. There's a part where she has to draw a spiral. Her weight and BMI have improved. And her transferrin, which is pretty phenomenal. She's never had a normal transferrin reading that normalized at 6 months and has maintained there now. And typically transferrin normalizes around puberty for CDG patients, and Maggie is not, of course, at puberty age. Here's just a slide to show you those transferrin readings as we've gone over time. And here you can see her ICARS score. So she started taking the drug on January 29th, so this middle reading. And this 8/7/19 reading, this is actually before we started acetazolamide. So Maggie actually took acetazolamide for 6 months from August to January. And we saw improvement on that drug as well. And I was actually very worried. We had to stop acetazolamide to start the Epalrestat trial. So we had to make that choice because we wanted to, there wasn't, any type of interaction, and wanted to really see what Epalrestat did. And I was worried because you'll see there's, I include later a link to Mercedes' speech at the CDG 2020 conference. And she talks about the patients in Spain who have taken acetazolamide, and once they went off it, they regressed backwards. And so I was worried, but Maggie has not regressed backwards. In fact, she's improved even more. So that was really encouraging to see. Her weight, you can see her weight chart just go up, 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 up. Here to, she's above the 50th percentile now. And also her BMI, of course, also increased. In the liver involvement, so there were, some concerns about, we're going to monitor her liver closely, and you can see her fibroscan results coming into the 0 to 1 range. So I think that, I believe it's under 5 is in the 0 to 1 range, but I meant to look that up before this. I apologize. This 8.4 reading is likely a testing error, but it's what it was at that date. Again, she started the drug in January, so it was a couple months before the drug, regardless. But those fibroscan results have maintained, and you can see the ALT and AST blood tests have remained in that normal range and stayed steady. And so one of the other exciting things that has come out of this venture with, through our ProQuest is Maggie's Care has decided to partner with Perlara and create a new organization called Maggie's Pearl, with this real mission to cure congenital disorders of glycosylation, starting with PMM2-CDG. But we think that this model can be replicated, and that we can continue to advance treatments for CDGs. And I dream of the day when we can knock these rare diseases out and not have to. It's not this life sentence. You're able to actually get treatment and lead an independent, happy, fulfilling life. That's what we all want for our kids. So expanded trial details. One of the things that Maggie's Pro will be working on is helping to expand the trial and make it available to more patients. And ultimately, if the trial is successful, Epalrestat approved for use as a treatment of PMM2-CDG for any individual who has PMM2. Now, so this trial, I just want to note these details aren't yet confirmed. So, and these could change, but this is just based on the latest information that I know. And I know that I would want to know that as a parent. So I want to share it with you, but just know that these things aren't set in stone yet. But the trial will be for likely 25 to 30 patients, ages 2 to 17. So this is a pediatric trial. And the inclusion criteria will include those with that elevated biomarker or abnormal transferrin. So likely, I'm guessing most patients, again, it normalizes in puberty for some, but most would likely have abnormal transferrin. And like I said, 70% of the patients, the PMM2 patients seen at Mayo Clinic have this new biomarker elevated. So what it is it's an open label Epalrestat trial, meaning that you wouldn't have to go into this getting a placebo or getting the real thing. Open label means everyone would get the real Epalrestat drug, and we'd observe the safety and efficacy of it. It would be an oral pill, likely 3 times daily. So Maggie takes her pill every 8 hours, and you know, that's to keep it in her, you know, in her system evenly. And so we do our pill times on Eastern time at 9 a.m., 5 p.m. and 1 a.m. So we do wake her up in the middle of the night, but like I said, she's really done well with taking a pill. I'm so impressed with her ability to just take her pill, lay back down, and move on with her sleeping. When would this trial be? So a potential start in Q1 of 2021. So not long. I'm really hoping not long, even as early as January. So I will keep the community updated and keep you posted on any changing details. But these are the details that I have so far. Where definitely Mayo Clinic, potentially 2 additional sites, trying to make the trial more accessible. How it would be done in quarterly visits. So I know you saw probably Maggie was doing a lot more visits, like the 30, 60, but you know, the existing protocol design right now is quarterly visits, so every 3 months. And one of the things that Maggie's Pearl is doing to make the trial more accessible to everyone is provide travel vouchers to go to your visit at Mayo Clinic. So $1 to cover airfare, mileage, lodging, meals, up to $2,500 per visit. So we know that it's costly and do not want money to be a barrier for someone getting access to treatment. And so I'm hopeful that this trial will start soon. I'm you know, hopefully January, because I would really like to see other patients have these same results. There are also some other developments happening in PMM2-CDG, which is just very exciting. You know, when we first got this diagnosis, it seemed like there was nothing happening, and it's just very discouraging. And now you know, 7 years later, here we are, and there are, you know, 4 things in the works. There's this Epalrestat trial. There's also, many of you have probably seen at the conferences, Glycomine is continuing work on their mannose 1-phosphate replacement therapy. And I included a link so that you can see the latest talk that was given in February. And the update provided was that, you know, a potential patient trial sometime in 2021. I haven't heard any updates beyond that, but that's the latest I know. There's also acetazolamide. So I mentioned that Maggie took acetazolamide. This drug is currently approved in the US. It's used to treat like, I think it's used to treat some type of ataxia, more like my understanding of it is that it was like a temporary treatment for like mountain sickness, like people who are mountain climbing, but I'm not 100% on that. But Maggie did see progress. She didn't see regression. Like I said, that, you know, in Mercedes Serrano is the one who first started using this for PMM2, and she talks about the trials that they conducted in Spain in this. And then also there is going to be a study done on acetazolamide in the US. Christina Lamb is going to present on this on these CDG PMM2 collaboration calls on October 27th. So she'll talk about that. That study will be a double-blind study, where meaning that some patients will get acetazolamide and some won't, so that they can really closely look at if there is a change between the two groups. And then there's also recently some in the news, this AT007, which is an investigational drug that's in trial for galactosemia, but this company, Applied Therapeutics, is looking to potentially expand it to PMM2-CDG. No clinical data yet. It's also an aldose reductase inhibitor, but it's new, so it's not as known as like Epalrestat with the age and safety data that we see, but just exciting to see so many new developments on the horizon. And then lastly, I will just open it up and wanted to make sure that folks had time for questions or anything I can help with. I hope you enjoyed the updates today, and I'm just I can't believe we're here. Just very exciting. Oh, great question. So somebody asked, how would you get involved in the study? So right now, my recommendation would be, and I've included this in some of my updates, is to email Dr. Morava and get established as a patient of hers. Mayo Clinic is running a couple of natural history studies on PMM2-CDG, so meaning they will, through your routine visit, they will be taking data to try to gather how PMM2 progresses naturally. And so getting enrolled in one of those studies is also helpful to the PMM2-CDG community. Then you're established as a patient. That will give you some baseline data to join the trial. So that would be my recommendation. I would also recommend getting fibroblasts taken if you haven't done that yet. It's a fairly simple procedure, and I included in one of my updates details about that. If you're curious, just feel free to shoot me a message or check maggiescure.com, and those details are in there. We used Coriell Biobank. There are other biobanks. We used that one because I had heard about it when we went to the NIH Natural History Study. So we basically, you go on Coriell's website, you tell them you would like to submit fibroblasts, they send you a kit, they'll mail you a kit, you take the kit to your doctor's office, any doctor, could be your pediatrician, and they will, right in the office, take a little punch of skin, and so they take it right out of the arm, but it's numbed up first. It's a tiny, it's 3 millimeters, I think. It's a tiny punch, and they stick it in this vial, they send it back to Coriell, then they grow from that sample fibroblasts. And since you donated fibroblasts, you're allowed to send one free sample anywhere you want. And so we chose to send our free sample to Mayo Clinic so that Maggie's fibroblasts could be tested for Epalrestat. So that's something I would suggest. Question on whether Maggie's blood was ever tested for PMM2 residual activity. If so, do I know the number of percent? Yes, and I believe there wasn't a significant change in her blood PMM2 residual activity, which is odd given the other progress that we've seen, but I know that will continue to be monitored. I don't think that was tested at this last time we went, but I believe we're going to test that at the 9-month visit. So when I do the update on her 9-month visit, I'll include those details. But we are certainly seeing a lot of improvements in labs and other things Any idea on if pharma dose will be changed for younger patients who may not know how to swallow pills? That's a great question. So when Maggie took the acetazolamide, we didn't try to get her to swallow a pill because I didn't know if she would be able to. So we had crushed those and sprinkled them on a bite of applesauce. And so I think that that would still be an option for Epalrestat. Now the Epalrestat comes in like a capsule, but I know when I first was talking to Ava, I was worried about Maggie being able to swallow it. And we debated, and she said, if you really need to, you can sprinkle it. So I would think that that would be an option, but right now Epalrestat doesn't have another formulation. And so there isn't another option besides an oral pill. But Maggie's Pearl, this new company formed with Maggie's Cure and Perlara, you know, if Epalrestat goes through this trial and gets approved, you know, that's one of the things we've discussed, is trying to make this treatment more easily accessible by creating a, you know, a different pediatric formulation, either a gummy or a liquid. But that's a ways down the road. First, we got to get, you know, a trial started. We've got to get patients enrolled. We've got to see the effects of those, and then submit an NDA to the FDA for approval. Regarding a Epalrestat study, you mentioned additional centers besides Mayo Clinic are planned, also one in Europe. Sadly, no. I would love that, but right now this trial is focused in the US because we're trying to get the FDA approval. But certainly looking at other countries outside the US is important. You know, the cure of, or the goal of Maggie's Pearl is to cure CDG, and that doesn't mean CDG in the US. So I don't at this time, but that's a great question. I will, you know, I will take that back. I'll talk to Ethan and we'll see if there's something we could do there. It may be difficult, but difficult has never stopped anyone. They said it'd be difficult to find a treatment for PMM2-CDG as well. So, and here we are, but great question. At what age in Maggie's timeline did she transition from babbling to actually verbalizing? Just wondering, since I know she was already making words before treatment, and my son is 2 but only babbles. Great question. Let me think. Oh gosh, you're gonna quiz my mom knowledge here. I'm trying to think. Maggie did, she's always on the, you know, the phenotype spectrum of PMM2-CDG. She has always done, you know, I would say better than average. She's has a mild phenotype when it comes to speech, even though her speech wasn't that great. But you know, some PMM2-CDG kids don't speak at all. So I'm trying to think. Deanne, do you know when Maggie started saying words? I'm trying to think in phrases, like just normally in development. I'd have to go back.
You're talking about, you know, kind of repeating what she hears type stuff. I want to say 3, maybe. Maybe
3. Yeah, I would say it's probably around 3 or 4. But I'd have to. I'll take a look and get back to you and see if I can find any notes on that. I need to take better notes on that. Does Maggie have problems with eating, and now with Epalrestat improved her eating habit? Oddly, no. So her eating habits haven't changed at all. She actually has done pretty well with oral eating. The only improvement with eating is she's more controlled as far as, you know, her fine motor, and the ataxia has improved. So she can eat a little better. And but I don't think her intake, her volume hasn't changed. So we meet with a nutritionist at Mayo and fill out food logs. Nothing has changed there, but she is. So either there's 2 questions. My question is weight gain a side effect of Epalrestat, or is it doing something to help her body better absorb the nutrients and use them to grow? I don't know. But no, there hasn't been a change. I mean, I know that failure to thrive and poor growth and weight gain is a symptom of PMM2-CDG. Again, Maggie was kind of on the more milder spectrum of that. It was recommended in infancy that she get a feeding tube. We opted not to. We really debated strongly and thought we'd continue to try to feed her orally and see if if we made improvements and she was okay, but no, very interesting question. Oh, thank you, Dr. Edmondson. He posted additional sites and contact information for the US-based CDG natural history study. So getting enrolled in one of those helps establish a good baseline. It helps the CDG community overall, so we can really study this natural history. Are there any plans for a placebo-controlled phase 1 through 3 trials with Epalrestat? Seems like single patient IND would be considered more of a phase 0 just because N of 1. Good question, Kara. Well, the reason that it's not is because it's a rare disease. So given the patient numbers in PMM2-CDG is why it can be considered, you know, a phase 1 safety trial. So some drugs, for example, in rare diseases get approved with open label observational trials of like 20 or less patients. It depends on how rare the disease is, and the FDA has to make a decision on what would be enough. So I'm hopeful that a placebo control won't be required, because I know as a parent, I would want my child to get the actual treatment and not a placebo. But I understand why placebo-controlled trials exist. One of the interesting things though is each patient's phenotype can vary so much in PMM2-CDG. So comparing two groups is really hard to do necessarily. So I'm hopeful that this next trial may be enough if the safety and efficacy hold and these same results are seen like they're seen in Maggie, that they could, the FDA, that could be enough. I don't know if it will be though. I'm certainly not an FDA expert, but it could be. There are some rare diseases where that is enough. Has Maggie ever had any liver problems? I will say no, not really. You saw her FibroScan reading. So when she was 3, it was like around 5.3 or something. When we went to NIH, it's now down 3.8, 4.1 range. So there's improvement there. And there was that one weird reading of 8.4. And I know I, as a mom, had a little bit of a panic there and thinking like, oh my gosh, she's in stage 2 fibrosis. I really think that was a testing error though. The FibroScan, for those of you who might not have had it done, it's non-invasive. It's like getting a tummy ultrasound pretty much. They put this little probe just right on the side of your child in between the ribs. And the thought is that perhaps the probe was pointed towards a rib and caught part of a rib, and that looked more stiff, you know, liver stiffness. A sick liver is more stiff, and so that's what caused that higher reading. But so far she's okay, and we just monitor it. But yeah, great questions. From your experience with both drugs, do you see overlapping and positive side effects between acetazolam and Epalrestat? I ever wonder if there's a time when Maggie might take both. Yes, great question. I want Maggie to take both because she did see improvement in acetazolamide. And based on Mercedes Serrano research, when you take acetazolamide away, the child regresses. So I'm thinking there could be benefits, you know, so it would appear to me, and again, to my layman parents' point of view, that Epalrestat not only rescued the regression, but also added improvement. So I think, you know, to cure CDG, obviously Epalrestat isn't a cure to CDG. Maggie's not cured. She's not running around yet like she wants to. She'll tell you she wants to run. And I want her to run. And I want her to do all the things she wants to do in life. So it's not a cure, but it's improved her quality of life significantly. And it might be that the cure for CDG is a cocktail of different types of treatments, including could be acetazolamide and Epalrestat. And we could see just continued gains of quality of life and function. And so, yes, I hope that someday she can get back on acetazolamide, because as I mentioned, we did see positive effects from it. It was a tough decision to stop it and try this new drug that no kid had ever taken before. And but we knew that it had this great effect in our cells. We trusted the science and thought, you know, what have we got to lose here? We will monitor it closely for safety, and if something goes wrong, we'll stop it and go from there. But great question. Oh, good question about new biomarkers in your talk. I don't know the exact biomarker. I don't think I can share a lot of details on that because it's like this new biomarker discovery at Mayo, but I will tell you it's really easy to measure, and that Maggie's levels were elevated and then they normalized. So I'm hopeful. I'm sure at some point Dr. Morava will share more. I know she shared with her other CDG colleagues, but I don't think I can say. I'm sorry. Great questions.
Holly, this is Terry. So first of all, thank you for this presentation. It's very nice to see the progress that Maggie has made. I had a question about the side effects of this drug. So you mentioned that it can have potential impacts on the liver, but Maggie didn't. What are the other side effects of this drug?
Good question. I don't think, I don't recall offhand because it's been 9 months since I looked at that. The liver was the biggest one on my mind. And I know looking at the papers, but the patients that had a liver side effect also had some other underlying conditions who had experienced side effect with that. But I don't know. Ethan, if you're still on, do you recall what the other potential side effects of Epalrestat were? That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I can say is that the drug was approved in '92 in Japan, and has also been treating patients in India and China. And the reality is, I think there's some sort of the typical side effects that you might see from any sort of pharmaceutical, but nothing really like there aren't any real labels or any other warnings on this drug. It's considered an extremely safe drug, and in general, Japanese drugs have a reputation of being considerably safe. So this has been on the market for almost 30 years. And there have been maybe a handful of those liver incidents. Again, those were in adults who might have had other comorbidities. So yeah, I don't know the list of side effects off the top of my head because I don't think there's anything particularly unusual about it. And again, it's the reputation of Japanese drugs, and Epalrestat's track record is one of being extremely, extremely safe.
Okay, good to hear. Now, did they have data for kids taking it as well? Because I know you had mentioned it's primarily used in adults.
That's key. Yeah, that's a key point, is that yes, all the safety data, the millions of patient safety hours are all adults. So Maggie was the first human with PMM2 and the first child, as far as we know, that has been treated. But when we went to FDA to ask for the single patient IND, there was a chance for them to request a safety bridging study in kids, and they did not. And I think that's probably because of just the overwhelming safety in adults. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that there couldn't be a safety event or a safety risk in a child at some point in the future. I don't want to ever eliminate that possibility, but I think at this stage, there doesn't seem to be any justification, at least coming from FDA, to require a pediatric bridging safety study. But if such a request is made, of course, we would honor it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, great question. A difficult decision for parents who may have to choose between acetazolamide and Epalrestat in the near future. Is that something you think we should just discuss with our doctors to decide? Because I know you have to pick one to start, since they both appear to have positive impact, might be tough to pick. Yes, I would definitely say you should consult with your doctor. You should weigh the choices. I mean, I'm happy to share what we know and, what I would do, but it's so individualized, the choice that you have to make. So you should think about it and weigh the pros and cons. I mean, I don't regret any of the decisions we've made. I feel like, I was lucky that we got to try acetazolamide first while we were trying to figure out and get an Epalrestat trial approved. And my decision was more, should I stop a drug that is showing improvements in her? You saw the ICARS did an improvement of 10 points. Now, since then, she's had a 13-point improvement on top of that. But yes, it's tough. I would definitely say talk to your physician, talk, with your family, and make the best choice for you. I'm happy to, if families want to talk one-on-one and describe more how we made the choice, then I'm happy to share with that too. But yeah, I think it's gotta be your choice. Holly, isn't Epalrestat only going to be a possible option for children who have a reaction when their fibroblasts are cultured, whereas all PMM2 with a decent renal panel will be eligible for acetazolamide? Great question. No, I think that the latest discussion, that was an early discussion of protocol entry criteria, but the latest discussion for entry criteria, especially given the discovery of this new biomarker, is that if the biomarker is elevated or the transferrin is abnormal, both of which have normalized for Maggie, that there isn't a need to also do this lengthy process of collecting and testing fibroblasts. Now, it was a benefit for me to see Maggie's fibroblast results to help me make a choice. So a parent might want that if they would want to choose, but no, it would, I would say that so it's either one of those two things have to be elevated, either the biomarker or the transferrin. And if one of those are elevated, then at this point in time, if the patient's between the ages of 2 and 17, they should be eligible to enroll in the Epalrestat trial. Okay, I see Maggie's made great strides in multiple areas as a mother. Is there any area she hasn't improved yet that you hope she will, whether it be via longer exposure to Epalrestat or benefits from another therapy? Great question. So I have, one of the things that we did is make, and I'm pretty sure that this was probably part of, I don't know, something Ava had us do. So I'm not sure if it was part of the natural history study or part of this Epalrestat trial, but we had to make 3 goals and they could be as lofty as we wanted. And so my goals are that she'll be able to walk just holding on to my hand, one hand, not have to use anything else, but I could just walk with her without a piece of equipment, that she can independently use the bathroom. I think that's just like a dignity thing as she'll get older. And then that she can talk well enough, she can communicate where strangers can understand her. So those are my 3, I think those 3 things would be a huge improvement in quality of life and an ability to, go and do everything that she wants to do. So while we've seen improvement in all 3 of those areas, in fact, she's actually used, she's gone to the bathroom on the actual toilet 3 times during the Epalrestat trial. And before that, she had only done it 1 other time. So I don't know if it's helping her, know more or understand that how that works or not. But so those are the 3 things. Her biggest progress she's made under Epalrestat is the speech, which I guess I would say is the most important because I can easily get a mobility device. It's really hard. While communication devices are available, it's a little bit more difficult to use than maybe a mobility device. And but yeah, that's a great question. So there's still things I want for her, that I want for her to improve. Of course, it's not, this is one mountain and there's still an entire probably mountain chain to climb, but we'll keep going. Okay, last question. No need to laugh. You can ask as many questions as you want, but I know it's early, but based on Maggie's response so far, is there any speculation as to where glycosylation of cells is improving the most with the Epalrestat? For example, based on clinical changes, are we thinking this medication is helping more brain cells, liver cells, etc. get glycosylated, or is it way too early for that? I don't think it's way too early for that. We know Epalrestat crosses the blood-brain barrier, which was another, I think, positive that I saw in the drug, that because we know, cerebellum atrophy and it impacts PMM2 children. And I, really was hopeful for a treatment that could potentially help there. I don't know the answer to your question of if we know where glycosylation of cells is improving the most, but I definitely think, given that the results we're seeing are somewhat global, that it is likely that it's impacting in multiple areas. Although, like I mentioned before, the blood isn't necessarily showing improved glycosylation, but I am next month when we go, well, at the end of this month, really, when we go to clinic, we're going to measure that again. So I don't know. I think that's a great question and something to continue to look at and see if we can find an answer to. That didn't really answer your question, I know, but. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, I know it's a little bit after the hour. I want to thank you all for coming and hearing about the updates. Like I said, we'll get this recording posted and the slides posted so folks have access. It was really a pleasure to get to talk to everyone today and share Maggie's progress. And I can't tell you enough how grateful I am for the chance to do this. All right, everyone have a wonderful day.
You too, Holly. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Holly.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.